I was recording the song that I wrote for him called Keep Going. My producer was like, it's kind of giving me anxiety a bit the way that you're saying this line. What if we changed it to this word so it just flows better? And I was like, okay, yeah, I don't want this song giving anyone anxiety. I was like, I want this song to save people's lives. So as I say, like, I want this song to save people's lives, we start recording it and the light flickers. And so I go, Drew, are you here? And then like it wasn't a little flicker, it was a big flicker. They turn off for like 2 seconds and then flash back on. And I got full body chills. I like threw down my phone. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, start crying. And so I know for sure like that was him in the studio with me.
Welcome to Signs from the Other Side with Fern Ronay. I'm your host, Fern Ronay, and this is the place to share stories of signs and messages received from the other side. Real quick before we get started, if you enjoy reading about signs and if you enjoy fiction like Bridget Jones and Sex and the City, you might enjoy my books, Better in the Morning and Better Believe It. And if you like this podcast, please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe in Apple Podcasts and tell a friend too. Thank you so much for listening, and on to the show. Jac Dazzo wasn't always Jac Dazzo, and he wasn't always a musician, but over time he has become exactly who he was meant to be, a musician, a mental health advocate, and like me and many of you, a spiritual explorer. Brett Kenyon grew up in Danbury, Connecticut, writing songs as a child, but followed the path of modeling and acting. But his true passion and his true self eventually emerged, creating music as Jac Dazzo, a name he chose to honor someone very significant, and being his authentic self and encouraging others to be their true selves has become his work, and finding signs and synchronicities along the way has confirmed he is indeed on the right path, and I am so happy that our paths crossed. Hello, Jac Dazzo.
That was such a nice intro. Thank you.
Well, you're an extraordinary person, and I'm so happy we connected. And we connected because you posted about a sign from your grandfather, and I was like, thank you. Like, I've been trying to like get the message out there, and every time I connect with others who believe, I'm like, we were meant to find each other. So I am so happy.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I love talking about this stuff. So to meet a fellow person who loves signs and synchronicities, it just makes my soul happy.
Yes, I love to hear it. So I am sorry for the very first unoriginal question, but I have to ask, what would Jac Dazzo today tell Brett Kenyon writing songs at 9 years old in his bedroom? What would he tell him?
Oh my God, I'm going to get emotional already. Ooh, hitting me with the hard questions. I think Jack would tell Brett that he should not stop writing songs, and that everything that happens to him in his life, especially in the next few years of his life, that he should turn that pain into art. And I wish I did, but it's okay.
You're doing it now.
But I'm doing it now. And yeah, that's why I created Jac, so I could start healing Brett. And yeah, it's never too late to be brand new. So
Yes. And you're so young. You have your whole life ahead of you. And you posted a video recently where you're like, I wish I'd, started sooner. Like, how much further along would I be? And that's such a common refrain. I talk to so many creative people who think it too. But I also think certain things had to happen. And I think you said this too.
Yeah.
To make that art. Like, you couldn't have written those words 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Exactly. It had to happen all the ways it had to happen.
I think that living life is the best way to create art, because people want to relate to real life things. And how can I write about something if I haven't lived it? I mean, you can, right? You can write about things you haven't lived, but I think there's so much more power in actually having gone through something and then turning that into art, and then being able to talk about it, being able to share it, and being able to help other people.
Your grandfather, he certainly lived an extraordinary life. He was born in 1929 in Sicily at 40-something years old, had an accident, was a music man himself, but then, worked, I think, a regular job, right?
He had a tough life. So both of his parents were from Sicily, and they actually moved to the U.S. He was born in Ohio, and like as a newborn, they were in America for a very brief time, and they're like, we don't like it, and so they moved back to Italy.
That's rare. You don't hear that story.
I don't know if they didn't like it, but they were just like, I think they wanted to be back with their family. So like he
Right.
literally was like born in Ohio, but then moved right back to Italy.
Yes.
Then when he turned 18, he wanted to move back to the US. And since he had citizenship, he did. He joined the military, moved to New York. He met my grandma. The rest is history.
Nice. And he was a music lover. He wrote music.
Oh yeah, he was obsessed with Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin. He loved Stevie Wonder, but he was also a late bloomer when it came to pursuing it. He started writing music, I want to say in like his late 30s, early 40s. He had created some demos. I know he went to like a couple of local radio stations in New York, got one on there and like did some interviews. I found a whole box of like letters that he had sent out to like CBS and the Sonny and Cher show and like
I love it.
rejection letters and all this stuff. And so he really, really wanted to be a songwriter. His dream was for him to write a song with Frank Sinatra. That was like his goal,
Wow.
or Dean Martin, either one. And then he actually worked for Ford. He worked at like the local factory. A forklift. One day they had like too many cars, and then it fell on top of him.
Wow.
So he had major back issues the rest of his life. He was disabled. He used crutches, and
Oh,
obviously because of that, he gave up his dream, and it really, took a toll on him. So
yeah, of course.
I always knew that he was musical. I remember seeing like pictures of him singing on stages growing up, but I never really knew the full history of it. He never like showed me his songs or anything. I'm not sure why. It was crazy because when I decided like I was gonna finally start actually recording and taking it seriously, my grandma was like, "Oh, I just feel like I'm supposed to give you this box," and it was all of his vinyls. So
I love that. I love that she
yeah,
was like, I have a feeling you should take this. And then it's this treasure trove of like
yeah.
everything he loved.
And it was
And
before I decided on Jac Dazzo too, so
yes,
it's really
yes, that
guided.
yes, absolutely. He's definitely on the other side with Frank Sinatra, writing music and sending them to you. I have
For
no doubt
sure.
it's his writing partner.
I know they're up there being like, all right, let's get Jac Dazzo to Taylor Swift so they can
Yes,
do a duet. Because like
yes,
Taylor Swift is my Frank Sinatra. So
yes. I love it. You said Taylor Swift saved my life. So can you talk about that?
yeah, I never liked country music, and my next door neighbor was a huge country fan. And in 2007, so this is like shortly after Taylor had released her first album, she's like, I really think you'd actually like this girl. And so I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. Listened to a couple songs, and I was like, oh my God, I love this. And then in college, my freshman year, I really was like, oh my God, I love this girl so much. And it was the beginning of college where I still was not out of the closet yet, and I was still struggling with my sexuality. Someone had decided to make like a Facebook group pretty much bullying me and telling me to like off myself and that all these awful, just mean things. I was at the point of like, I was in a dark place, I think. I was drinking a lot and I was just struggling with who I am. And I had decided one day that I was going to like take my own life. And so I went into the bathroom and started taking pills and I just kept hearing the song Mean by Taylor Swift. And so I just kept hearing that song over and over and over and over. And I was just like, I stopped and I just like cried and I was like, you can't do this. Like, and I, obviously didn't do it. And then a couple months later, she took me backstage and I got to meet her. I went to her concert and
How
her
did you get to
music,
meet her?
I knew that she takes fans backstage. And so I was like, what can I do to get backstage? So I like covered myself in balloons and I went to her concert early and her band was outside. And like, yeah, this is hilarious. Like, we have to tell Taylor about this. And so like, this was in 2011. So she wasn't like the superstar she is now. She was very
Still.
famous. She was very famous. So I mean, she had Grammy awards then. Like it's not like she was a nobody musician, but you know what I mean. And so she took me backstage, and then the next tour she took me backstage, and the next tour she took me backstage. So there's always been this invisible string with Taylor and me. I've always like dressed really funny at her concerts, and I was kind of like one of the first like OG Swifties to really like now it's like a thing like you dress up at a Taylor
Yes,
Swift concert. Like it's like going to like Comic Con pretty much when you go to a Taylor Swift concert, like
right.
or it's like Halloween. But like I was like one of the first Swifties to actually really do that and like make it create
Yes.
a thing.
I was thinking I was like, maybe someone knew this story and then someone knew her and they connected him. No, you got to meet her all on your own by being your amazing
Yeah.
self. Like, let me dress in balloons. And then you got
Yeah.
to meet the person whose voice you heard on that night. That's
I
incredible.
know. Yeah, it's like her music literally saved my life, and then shortly after I met her, it's just like I mean, I
Wow.
believe in fate. I believe in things that are
Yeah.
meant to be, and I think that was one of them. And
Yes.
that's a big reason why I'm so passionate about creating music because I'm like, maybe one day my song will save someone.
Yes. Absolutely. I am so sorry you went through that. That is so horrific. And it reminds me of wasn't there a mean Facebook group about Lady Gaga? Like that was called like you're
Yeah.
never gonna be
Yeah,
famous
Stephanie
or something.
Germana will never be famous or whatever. I know. I think
Yes.
it's funny that we both had Facebook groups made
Right.
about us. But as a
This is a good
millennial,
sign.
yeah, totally, totally. That is a good sign. Yeah, that is a synchronicity. Very,
Yeah.
very true. But I think as millennials, a pretty strong generation, and we're the first generation to really like go through online bullying. So I experienced it from middle school on. And so, unfortunately, and now it's something I feel like that's so ingrained in culture. You get all these mean, like TikTok comments and comments on every video. Like everyone experiences it now. And it's just, there's a lot of unhappy people out there. And
That's exactly it. It's so funny. I'm a little older than you, Jack, but I get mean comments and I didn't go through it. Like, I'm like, thank God there was not social media when I was in middle school, high school. But
yeah,
I get mean comments now and I'm like, it really stings. And so I'm learning like it's like a
it
muscle. You just
does.
have to like, the more it happens and then you just kind of keep putting yourself out there and it doesn't bother you anymore. You get
Yeah.
stronger,
Yeah,
I
I
hope.
and I know this isn't necessarily about signs and synchronicities, but it does kind of tie back. When I started doing TikTok over the pandemic, and there was a point where my TikToks were very popular, and then I stopped, and it was because I couldn't really handle like when people would leave mean comments, it would really throw me off. And then when I was briefly on a show called Vanderpump Rules, that really was lots of mean comments and like lots of things on Reddit that are still out there. And once you go through something very public like that, I think you actually do grow a thick skin and you're just like, oh, okay, like you just have to like not to quote Taylor Swift, but like shake it off and be like, people will hate you or people will have something to say no matter what. And even though I'm not as good of friends with her anymore, my friend Sheena from Vanderpump Rules, we really bonded over mediums and
Mm,
signs. And
yes.
like everything in life happens for a reason that we're talking about. Like, why do certain things in life happen? Right. I
Yes.
started working at this restaurant 7 years ago and became friends with Sheena, who really opened up my mind to the fact that like mediums and signs and synchronicities are real. I've always been a believer, but to see someone really like have that same passion as me with it, and she went on Tyler Henry's show and got a reading
Yeah.
from him, and then
Oh, you were meant to meet her.
yeah, and so we really bonded over that. And she introduced me to a medium, Eden Sustin, who now I work with and talk to often. I get readings from her, and she helps kind of guide me into like getting into my own intuition and abilities. So it's just funny to look back on life and see the invisible strings and like how things fall into place and why they happen and what leads you to one thing and to another. And things make sense looking back always, and you can connect all the signs and synchronicities.
Yes, a hundred
That was the
percent, a
point of the
hundred
story.
percent.
I hate talking about Vanderpump Rules. I hate talking about that part of my life. And I actually created Jac Dazzo because I was so embarrassed about everything that happened on Vanderpump Rules. But it is part of my life. And, I'm still Brett
It made
Kenyon.
you
Like, I
stronger,
just,
and it
yeah.
made you met Shayna. It opened your mind. It was like all meant to happen, even if
Yeah,
like you shut the door on that for now. Yes,
exactly. Exactly.
yes. How did your Papa Jack meet your grandma?
So they were living in the same town in New York. And she was working at, I think, at like an ice cream
Oh my God,
shop or
that's so cute.
something, and was like walking home from work. He was just driving his car and he like rolled down his window and I was like, hey.
Hot
I'm
stuff.
like, yeah, pretty much. And it was like, do you want to ride? I'm
Oh
like
my God.
back in the day when
Right.
you just like trust strangers driving down the street, like, okay. But I think it might have like taken him a couple times. Like I think he like would say hi and then eventually she like gave in and went in the car and she says he took her to like the overlook. It's very like, do you remember the movie Grease, like where they'd go to the
Yes, of
overlook and
course.
make out? She's like, yeah. And like he tried to make a move on me and she's like, I was classy.
I love
But
it.
yeah, pretty
Oh,
much
that's so
like they met
sweet.
in a small town right outside New York City. So
Oh, that's so sweet. I love it. And
yeah,
he, what do you remember about him as a child?
he just loved being with his grandkids. He was obsessed with his pool. He had a pool in the backyard. He would sing to me in Italian, and he had a scooter, and he would scoot us to the park down the street.
Oh,
He was just
he was so cool.
such a good papa. Anytime I smell cigarette smoke, I think of him because he loved to smoke, but he would always make sure we weren't near him. And he had a bread drawer, and he loved his Italian food, and I just have nothing but good memories of him and happy times. He gave me a really good childhood, and I spent a lot of time at his house. I have more memories truly as a child at his house than I do at my parents.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I spent a
Yeah.
lot of my formative years there.
Italian grandparents are the best.
Yeah,
And you had
yeah,
one with a pool and he liked to sing.
yeah.
You hit the lottery.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I didn't, never wanted to be at my parents' house. We didn't have a pool, so I was like,
Right.
let's go to Papa's house.
Exactly. He passed in 2016. Do you remember the first sign you got or the first thing you recognized?
When he passed, I was definitely not as spiritually evolved yet, but I always have believed in signs. In 2006, my mom's best friend died, and I remember we were driving, and the song came on the radio, and she was like, "Oh, this is Lori's favorite song. Like she's here," and I'll never forget that. It was the first time that I really experienced the loss where my mom was like, "Oh no, they can still give us signs." So when my papa died, I was like, "Oh, like maybe he can give me signs." And it started small. It started with like driving down the street and walking down the street because I was living in New York City. And I was thinking about him. I looked to the left and the house number was 13. And 13 is his lucky number. He was born on April 13th. So like, okay. I remember being at work and I was like having to grab spoons for a table. And I just grabbed like a handful and I counted and it was 13 spoons. And I was like, I know it sounds stupid, but in my head, like, oh, and it was the same day that I saw like the
Yes.
13. But it wasn't really until 2019 where his energy and my energy kind of aligned, where now I feel like I can just full on have conversations with him, like very quick. And it was at Tom Tom, and I was having to fill in for a hostess. And so they said, I need to wear a suit jacket or something like nice. And the only suit jacket I had was the one I wore to his funeral. So I put it on and I was remember wearing it, just being like, oh wow, it's been like a minute since I've worn this. And I'm sitting up at the host stand and a ladybug lands on me. And his house growing up was constantly in the summertime covered in ladybugs. So when I think of ladybugs, I think of my papa's house,
Yeah.
like all the time. And I looked at the clock and it was 3:33. And I was like, huh. I was like, what does that mean? So I Googled like what does 323 mean? And this is the first day I really got into angel numbers.
Yeah.
And it said like, oh, you know, your angels are with you, they're guiding you, blah, blah, blah. And so that ladybug like stayed on me for 45 minutes. I even like tried to flick it off and it would fly back on me. It was just crawling up and down. And I was like, oh, okay. So I remember
Yes.
making a video and being like, I feel like this is my papa giving me a sign. And then from there, like more and
Yes.
more things happen. I've gotten like so many crazy signs from him. But those are the first couple ones where I was like, okay, like maybe there's something to this.
Yes. And I feel like I keep hearing that you thought maybe, and then there was the extra confirmation. So like the 13 and then the 13 spoons and then the ladybug and then the
Right.
333. Like there's always like this extra confirmation in case you're doubting, like this is real. Yes, for
Exactly.
sure.
Yeah. And it's funny because like I think when I was living in New York City, I was drinking a lot, I was partying a lot. I wasn't really like paying attention to the little things in life. And you have to pay attention for the signs and synchronicities, or you have to be on a vibrational level, I think, sometimes to really receive them. But I didn't realize this until a couple of years ago. But a couple months after he died, I decided to move to Las Vegas because the restaurant I was working at asked me to. You know, who would perform in Las Vegas all the time? Like Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, like there's streets named after that. Even that is kind of a synchronicity because I never thought I was going to leave New York City. But
Right.
then this random restaurant I was working at is opening up a restaurant in Vegas and asked me to like go be the lead server and move there. Like
Right.
I just looking back at it now, I'm like, oh, like that's such like a little nudge from the universe, you know, like you're supposed to be a
Yeah.
songwriter, like because
Yes.
my papa talked about in his interview that I found in that box about how there was someone he knew that was going to Vegas and trying to get the songs to Dean Martin, and they haven't had any luck yet. So he literally talks about it in his interview. It's like, oh yeah, we've sent the songs to Las Vegas to try and get it to Dean Martin.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, like even that kind of stuff is like weird.
Yes, like you were sent to Las Vegas. You are writing the songs that they are sending to you from the other side. I have no
Oh
doubt.
yeah. I know that singers like Prince and I think maybe Michael Jackson, there's a couple others that really have talked about like receiving his art from somewhere higher. And I definitely have written a bunch of songs where I just don't know really where it comes from. Sometimes it just like flows out. I'll be meditating and something just flows to you. I truly do believe that that's coming from somewhere higher.
Yes, absolutely. I'm a writer and things will come to me and I'm like, I don't know where the hell that came from, but I say like,
Yeah.
thank you for giving it to me. Like you could have given that idea to anybody else, but you want me to be the person, the conduit on earth. Like, thank you.
Exactly, because it's
Yeah.
such a different feeling than when you sit down and you're like, I'm gonna write something, and then you're trying to
Right.
force it out. Like it's very much in the flow. And
Yes.
I know Michael Jackson talked about how when he would wake up and have an idea, he'd be like, "We're getting in the studio right now because I don't want Prince to get this idea for like because he wasn't like the idea is like
Right.
floating in the ethers and like
He's got to grab it.
whoever grabs it first, it's their idea. So it's
Yes.
such an interesting concept, but I totally believe
Yes.
it.
I was very sorry to hear about your brother-in-law, and it was this year,
Yeah, it
right?
was 4 months ago yesterday.
Wow.
I'm actually
Yeah.
wearing his hat. This is
Oh,
his hat. I wear it in honor of him.
oh. I am so sorry. How is your family doing?
It's been not an easy 4 months.
Yeah, it's like
You know,
yesterday. 4 months is
yeah,
nothing.
yeah, and I mean, death is never easy, especially when it's from suicide. I've struggled in ways that I didn't think I would struggle, but it's because I really like I looked up to Drew. I saw a lot of myself in him. I think him and I were very similar in many ways. So it's definitely like a big loss. I actually got a reading from Eden, who we were just talking about a month ago, and he did come through for about 30 minutes.
Oh,
Very
wow.
specific, and he was telling her things like me and my sister. She came out here for a couple of days, and he was saying back to her like very specific things that we did that no one
Yeah,
would know that we did. Just be like, he
right.
was with us the whole time, and
Yeah,
that was
absolutely.
nice.
The story of your nephew, I mean, the video, I've seen the video on
Mm.
Instagram where he's like, he's here. It's incredible.
Yeah, yeah, that was the day after he passed. We obviously didn't tell him what happened, and we were just playing cards, and he just like all of a sudden out of the blue, like I was taking videos of him playing cards, just being cute, and then I had stopped recording, and he goes, "Uncle Drew's standing behind me," and I was like, "What?" And that's when I grabbed my phone and started recording again, and that video didn't really go
Yeah.
viral, but it got some attention online.
Yeah, someone sent it to me.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I definitely, I know for a fact that little kids can see spirits and they're
Mhm.
open and they're pure. And I have so many stories of friends that could remember seeing that stuff when they were younger. And in my reading with Eden, Drew actually said that he's still earthbound and that he's chose to be earthbound still while he's doing his healing and learning. And he said that he left a mess and he's got things to try and fix. And so he's chosen to stay earthbound for a while. So I'm
Okay.
like, especially because this is the day after he passed, I'm like, well, he's
Right. Yeah.
definitely earthbound.
And he's come through with kind of playing with lights and we had a little recording
Yeah.
issue. We were like, is it them?
Well, I don't know if you ever saw the video. It's also on my Instagram. I was recording the song that I wrote for him called Keep Going. And my producer was like, it's kind of giving me anxiety a bit the way that you're saying this line. What if we changed it to this word so it just flows better? And I was like, okay, yeah, I don't want this song giving anyone anxiety. I want this
It's the
song to
last
save
thing you want.
people's, yeah, I was like, I want this song to save people's lives.
Right.
So as I say, like, I want this song to save people's lives, literally the we start recording it and the light flickers and I'm like, I stopped singing and he's like, why'd you stop singing? I was like, did you just see that light flicker? He's like, yeah, I did. And so I go, Drew, are you here? And then like it wasn't a little flicker, it was a big flicker. They turn off for like 2 seconds and then flash back on and I got full body chills. I like threw down my phone. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, start crying. And so I know for sure like that was him in the studio with me recording
Absolutely. It's
the
a
song
great
that I wrote for him.
video. When you say you got chills, it like gives me chills. Yes.
Yeah. And he's been showing me like 777 a lot. Like I actually got this tattoo for him that says 777 with
Oh
an
my
anchor
God.
underneath it because he ran a marina on the lake and he was obsessed with boating and we would always go on
Oh.
the boat together. And like I don't know why this number per se is associated with him, but every time I would hear like a song on the radio that would remind me of him, a 777 license would pull in front of me.
Oh,
And
how
so there was even
funny.
a time where it came on the radio and I was like, okay, Drew, if you're here, it's like, show me a 777 and I could have it recorded. And then I heard a voice in my head just be like, turn left, even though like I was going straight to the bank. It was like, just turn left. So I turned left. And as I turned left, the car that was in front of me was a 777. And I was like, oh my God. Like,
Oh my
even there was
God.
a moment a couple weeks ago, I was telling my mom, like, I think he's showing me these sevens. Like, and maybe he's showing me the sevens because they represent luck. And he's just like, every time I'm doubting like my music or my career and I feel like giving up, I feel like he's trying to kind of giving me that encouragement. So I was telling my mom that, and I was like, as I told her that on the phone, we hang up, and then a 777 pulled in front of me. I take a picture of it. I text my mom, like, oh my God, Drew's definitely here. And
Yeah.
then as I send it to her, another 777 license plate pulled in front of me. And at that point, I'm like, whoa, what the hell? And I was listening to, this is so embarrassing, but I was listening to Hannah Montana because I love Hannah Montana.
Aw.
Because as Jac Dazzo, I'm like, I'm low key becoming Hannah Montana.
Yeah.
Uh,
I love it.
but the Hannah Montana song ends, and right as that second 777 pulls in front of me, the song switches, and it was just on a shuffle to "Teardrops on My Guitar" by Taylor Swift, and the opening line is "Drew looks at me," and then the second line is like "Drew talks to me."
Oh my God.
So I literally like started like crying because like
Yes.
right as that second 777 came in front of me and right as the song changed and the lyrics were Drew looks at me, Drew talks to me. Like I was like, whoa. I was like, that's gotta be him.
It can't be more clear, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, of all of the
So,
names of all of the songs.
yeah. I
Yes,
was like, and why did I
amazing.
switch to that one? So
Wow. Speaking of Hannah Montana and your different personas, I love the story of how you came up with Jac Dazzo. If you could tell that.
thank you. Yeah. I knew that I wanted a stage name. I was at a Halloween party dressed as Taylor Swift. This is in 2023. I was going around to people and they were complimenting my costume and I would compliment them back. And this one girl was dressed as a cowboy. And so I looked at her as like, oh, I love your costume too. What are you, a cowboy's girlfriend? And she was like, no, I'm just a cowboy. And I was like, heard a voice in my head be like, that's your stage name or that's your band name. And then from there, you know, my grandma gives me the vinyls and all my Papa stuff. And then a couple days later, we go to Joshua Tree. And I was saying to my friend Katie, I don't like just a cowboy. Like originally, I wanted to like do it because it would piss people off because I'm not a cowboy. And like, but I love like country pop music. I love throwing a little banjo in there. So I was like, I can maybe go down that route and it'd be kind of ironic. It'll piss people off. And you know. And then she's like, "Well, if you don't like just a cowboy," she's like, "people will just call you Jack." And then as she said that, I could really feel my papa be like, yes, you need to go as Jack. Like it needs to be in honor of me.
And his
You
name
need
was
to honor
Jack.
me. And yeah, so his name was Giorgino Randazzo. But when he moved to New York, they couldn't pronounce Giorgino or they didn't like to because it's too Italian. So they called him Jack. Um,
Wow.
yeah.
So
He also
just a
went
cowboy
by,
cowboys JAC. JAC and
yeah,
like it works both ways. Like it's in honor of him
yeah.
and it's just a cowboy.
Exactly. So I was also kind of like hesitant. So like, well, Jack is such a common name, and you have like Jack Harlow, and you have all these other singers that have the name Jack. So I was like, I don't know if I like that. But because JAC actually stands for just a cowboy, and then I was like, let me take his last name Randazzo and make it Dazzo. So I literally went on Instagram, I went on every social media platform, and I was like, is Jac Dazzo? I went on Spotify, is Jac Dazzo like taken? And it wasn't taken. So I was like, okay, that's my sign that like this is
Yes.
meant to be the name.
It's so perfect. It's so perfect. And it's such as someone obsessed with my grandparents too. I love like that it's such an honor to him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it feels right. And
Yes.
again, it was like the signs and the synchronicities that led me there. Just the way that it all kind of came together felt very aligned.
What are you working on now?
So I am trying to finish up. Originally, I wanted to do an EP of about like 5 or 6 songs, but I'm thinking now at this point, I would rather push the date of release and record a couple others and just make it a shorter album, like of nine or 10 songs. So I think that's what I'm gonna end up doing. But I'm self-producing it with my producer, like I'm self-funding it, like so it's a slow burn. But that's what we're manifesting and calling in is
Yes.
either someone who wants to invest in my music or career or just taking it to the next level. Eventually I'd like to make like a mental health EP just of songs
Yes.
like dedicated to mental
Yes.
health stuff.
Yes.
That's really what I'd love to do, or maybe even an album if we can manifest that.
Yes.
'Cause
Yes.
I have a lot of
Absolutely.
song, yeah, I have a lot of songs that are about that. A lot of songs that are about signs and synchronicities and spirituality and stuff like that. So
Yes. I feel like they really are connected too. Like I talk a lot about mental health too. And I was going to ask you one of my questions, what you do as far as like what modality you've used to work on your healing and then what you do to work on your mental health.
it's been a lot of self healing. I did a lot of work through YouTube University.
Yes. Yes. Isn't it
Things
amazing
like,
what's out there?
yeah, like there's no excuse to not do it.
Yes.
But like EFT tapping on the meridian points, it's a
Oh,
big one
nice.
to release shame and like stuck emotion. So EFT tapping. And also I used plant medicine, like shroom trips that I would go on. I did a lot of them out in Joshua Tree. You can do guided ones with people. I have friends that are just in the spiritual community and people that I trust that we can kind of do them on our own. I'm such an advocate for plant medicine. I'm such an advocate for shrooms that I will talk so openly about it because I think if this stuff was legal everywhere, we would see so much less suicide. We would see so much more peace and happiness in the world. And I honestly think I talked about in one of my songs, Revolution, like they make illegal what opens your mind, close your third eye, control humankind. Those are the lyrics. And I
Wow.
think it's that big pharma and the government. And listen, I'm here for every kind of medication, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it's here for a reason, but why are we limiting it to just these pills? And I think that sometimes depression medication is like putting a band-aid over it or just like maybe numbing your feelings and helping you get through. Yes, helping you stay alive, but it's not getting down to the root core of what's causing the depression always. It's not getting down to the core of what is the trauma. Through taking shrooms, both microdosing and macrodosing. The macrodoses is really when things like flooded in and it uncovered a lot of subconscious memories, things that happened to me in my childhood, limiting beliefs that were holding me back. I was trigger warning to anyone who has experienced any kind of like sexual abuse. When I was 8, I was sexually abused by my neighbor for a while and I was able to actually like uncover that and face it head on and like talk to my parents and my friends about it and that is something I'm still actively healing and needing to
Yes.
get through.
Yeah.
But it was because of my shroom trip that I was able to like uncover that. And there's lots of things that I was able to remember that happened to me or that needed healing or that needed to be shown love. And
Yes. Yes.
I was able to connect to my guides and really just like remember that we're all one consciousness and we're all like love and light and this and that. And I know, you know, I'm sure that your listeners are open to that stuff, and there's a lot of people that aren't, unfortunately. But when these things are used safely and within like when it's used with intention, it can be so healing
Yes.
and so amazing. And
Yes.
and then also Eden, the psychic medium that I was talking about, Eden Sustin. I've done a lot of my healing work with her. When she connects to your guides, when she connects to your loved ones on the other side, she specializes in healing trauma. So like there is a point where she connected to my Papa Jack, and she's like, "Oh, Papa's here, and he's saying something about Barbie. Like, oh, did you have an Aunt Barbie?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "Oh, like, did you play with Barbies?" And then I was like, I started immediately crying, and I remembered like a very subconscious memory that I was sitting at the kitchen table with playing with my Barbies, and my Uncle Joe came up to me and he said, like, you can't play with those. Those are for girls. You're not a F-slur. And I just started crying, and she's like, Papa's saying you need to call your uncle and have a conversation. And so I called him after that, and like we're very close now. And he's like, that was the '90s. I was homophobic back then. I'm not anymore, and blah blah blah. So
wow.
Yeah, so I did a lot of my healing work through Eden Sussin.
Wow,
I know I keep talking about her, but I swear this lady is iconic.
Yes, she
Like,
sounds
and
amazing.
yeah, and like I think like we can work with our guides, we can work with our spirit team to heal and grow. And I think like if everyone was just open to that, like how much better would our lives be?
Yes, absolutely. I want to send everyone who listens your way. They were meant to listen to this. They were meant to find you. So where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Jac Dazzo, JACDAZZO on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you stream music.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's my handle across all platforms. But I talk about a lot of synchronicities and signs from the universe on my social media. So if your listeners are into that stuff, I don't just post my music. I talk about this stuff as well. So.
Yes, it's all connected too.
Yes,
it's a perfect combination. Well, you're wonderful, and I'm so happy we did this, and I can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much for having me and for having such an open and honest conversation.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to Signs from the Other Side. You can find me, Fern Ronay, on all social media at Fern Ronay, RONAY. I love hearing from you, and I love hearing your stories of signs. And if you would like to hear more episodes of this show, please be sure to subscribe in Apple Podcasts. Thank you again, and sweet dreams.